everyone. Welcome to VA to VA. We're so happy you joined us today. Sorry for the delay. My computer was having a few technical difficulties, but I'm on camera today again. So finally, and that was part of the problem. We were trying to get that situated because I just bought a new webcam. So sorry about that. And thank you for your patience for waiting on us. So we're going to talk about today, well, first of all, let me introduce who we are if you're new to our program. I'm Tammy Durden, and I'm in Virginia, and I have Tammy's Office Solutions, and we cater to anywhere from micro up to enterprise businesses, doing all the back end. We do social media, all of digital marketing, really. We do virtual assistant work, we do bookkeeping, and we do writing services. So that's what we do. And then my partner in crime, one of them, Nanette Telemack. Please introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Nanette Telemack of In Essence Virtual Assistants out of Newbury, New Hampshire, and I'm a generalist virtual assistant, so I offer support in administrative tasks as well as in sales and marketing, graphic design, things of that nature, digital marketing. So that's what I do out of New Hampshire.
Great. And then we usually have Lisa called with us too, and she's with Augusta Virtual Assistants, and she wasn't able to be with us today, so they've had her some family health issues, as well as I think she's getting away for the weekend, so good for her. I would like to join her. So anyway, we're going to talk about today, as many of you know, the changing landscape of social media. We've just really had a lot of changes recently, especially the big one with Facebook. As everybody probably knows, if they're doing any type of social media work, even you know this. And we've really had to rethink social media lately. And I know for me, it's been a tremendous impact on our business model and on our business in general and our clients. And I've had to really rethink, how are we going to do this? And what are we going to do to make it work for our clients better? And so we're going to talk a little bit about that. We're going to talk about some different ways to be able to package even, and just all kinds of good things for you today. So the first thing, we just want to start with the basics, basically, and start with, the difference, the difference really in a lot of the changes has to do with content, obviously. And so, we want to talk about the different, two of the main different types of content, and we can go into more detail after we begin that. But we want to talk about the difference between curated content and created content. So I know I have to explain this to my clients all the time because they really don't understand. They just know they need postings up there, and they don't really understand that there is a big difference between curated and created content. For a long time, most of my clients just wanted the curated content, and then I would always be asking, please create content so that we can post that as well, because that's going to get more interaction, of course. Now, if there was good articles and stuff, that always helped, because clients, we need to present our clients in a way that appeals to their ideal audiences. And in order to do that, we can't just sell, all about them all day long. So we have to mix in some curated, which curated content is basically taking articles, blogs from online magazines and elsewhere, and sharing that content on our clients' platforms, and for yourself on your platform. So, you needed a mix of this, and it used to be 80-20, 80 curated content to the 20 created content that the clients would usually produce. And they didn't mind doing that because they were blogging and things like that. But it has changed so much recently. And with the Facebook changes of everything being more personal, and all of that, now what is happening with that is people want to see more personal content, first of all, but they also want to see how-tos, tips, all of those kind of things, videos, anything like that, shared, but on a more personal nature. How will it affect them? How can it help them? And that, not just selling, but so you have to put out a lot of that type of content now, which is considered created content because it's telling them how to and tips and all of that. You can mix in some curated, but not as much. And then you can mix in that sales page every once in a while or offer, definitely has to be a value for them to really engage and feel like they're getting something of value from you or your client in order to stay with you and to continue to see the content that you're putting out. Otherwise, also our attention spans are so much less. Everybody just breezes through. They only want to catch the high points. They don't want to have to read every little detail. They don't want to read a whole article usually. And I can't complain there because I do the same thing because we have to see so much now, so much content and data that we have to determine which is the most important, which, falls on the bottom and all of that. So you have to be able to produce content that the ideal client really is going to find valuable, wants to see, wants to engage and comment on. And it's tough. It's really hard, and continue to grow the following because, of course, the more, and it's not always about the more numbers, but it can be because the more ideal client, the more followers you have, then obviously the more option to be able to really reach another person. But if you're reaching that ideal client and it truly is an ideal client, then they're going to hopefully respond to what you're putting out if it meets their need. So that's really where it gets a little tricky and where you have to find the balance in doing all of this. So I just really encourage you to rethink the way you're doing social media. It does take longer because you're going to have to create content. And the other important aspect of putting the content out there, and I've been learning a lot about this lately, believe me, but and I had learned about it before, but this is another way of making sure that that clients or prospective clients can digest your content easily is the spacing on the page and on the, on what you're putting out. So in other words, if you put a picture and then you're going to put out tips, 5 tips of something, you're going to want to say top tips of, and then space, and then you're going to list, maybe 5 things, and then you're going to have to space again. So you want a couple of spaces in between. What used to be paragraphs is now only 1 to 2 sentences. And so you don't want to put a lot of content, but then you also want to space it out. Any other comments on that, Nanette?
No, I agree with everything you were saying. It is now turning more into more original work. So being authentic and really capturing the needs of the people you're speaking to is going to be more important. It's I see a lot of people sharing links all the time, and some of it I've already read. So the thing is that you want to make sure that what you're bringing to the table is something original, and it's in the voice of either your customer or yourself. So yeah,
great point.
Yeah, and that's more important going forward now.
It is, and I'm glad you brought up the authentic because I'm kind of discombobulated this morning with trying to get everything. But it is true. We have to be real and authentic. And I will tell you something. Recently, some of you may have known that I was in the hospital and had a real bad health scare. And by being real on my pages and who I am and struggling with that, owning a business and, with health scares and things like that, you would not have believed how much my engagement went up. It was just incredible. So people really do want to get to know you. And we know this. It says, they're going to do business. What is it like you, know you, and what is that? Oh gosh, see, my mind is just gone today. They have to like you, know you, and something. My mind's just gone.
Trust you?
Yes, thank you. But anyway, put it in the comments. So I'm sorry, it's not thinking straight today. But anyway, so it goes right back to that again and building those relationships. I always tell my clients that it is about building relationships. It takes time. It's not an overnight thing. And I don't know about you, if you are a VA, if you're running a multi-VA company, but I tell my clients, you got to give it 6 to 18 months sometimes because, 3 months doesn't do it. That's not going to give a good representation. And you have to, the hard part is when you're doing it for a client, you have to learn their voice, and represent them in a real and authentic way. And that's really difficult as somebody who does their social media management and everything, you really do have to get to know them and learn that. And but the good thing about that is it creates a loyalty, it creates trust too between the two of you. So I know, Nanette, you have some other great things to tell us about.
Well, you touched on a lot of it. What people need to realize is, like, if you're doing it for yourself, you should be doing research, right, before when you're writing a blog or trying to educate your customer. So in the same way that you do it for yourself, if you do that, you should do that for your client. So everything you're talking about is so true, but then that means more time spent researching, looking at their customers' competition and seeing what their customers are saying. Also joining like groups that are not VA groups, but actual customer groups, and hearing what's the topics of what they're saying is all going to help you to build content. Understanding your customer's vision, mission, goals is all of that. It's going to help you to produce content that they like. Now, some customers, they already know what they want to say, and that makes it easier for you to just post their stuff for you. But there's a lot of customers who are relying on you to actually do the content, need you to do the content for them. They just don't have the time, and so that it's. Although it's opening up a new revenue stream for you, it's going to bog you down, and so you may want to look at other VAs to bring in, or bring someone on your team that's a good copywriter that could do this faster and easier than you. So.
You're muted, I think. I can't hear you, hon.
Oh, that's some of the research that I picked up that I realized for myself. I research for myself, but I also know that I have to do that for my customers. I guess some of the other things that I also picked up and read and learning myself is that there's so much out there. So how you talk, what kind of voice you give, is going to capture people. Everybody's competing for that attention, like you said, and then the people who you're trying to reach have short attention span. So you want to how you speak in your voice, you want to make it so that they want to. The first 3 paragraphs should be very compelling, so that they want to click on it and read the rest and read more, because you have a short time to keep them engaged, and that's the whole goal, for your customers as well as for yourself. Yeah, so
absolutely, those are great points. And it is getting harder and harder, and like you said, it takes more and more time, and customers don't, or clients don't always understand that. And so I know for myself, and I know you are too, I'm redoing all of our social media packages, because from now on, it's not going to be enough to just give clients curated content. They are going to have created. And in order for me to represent them successfully, I won't do it without that any longer, because it just looks like nothing's happening. And what is the good, use of that? It's not good use of their money. It's not good use of my time. And it doesn't make your company look any better, for either one of you. And so I think it's really important to understand that, and to recognize that we really do have to rethink what we're offering to clients and how much time it's going to take. Because now we are doing blogging for clients. We are doing content for clients. We are doing, and I know how long it takes for me, and I know my market, and I know what I'm talking about for my, I still want to research some things, but we know what our knowledge is, what our expertise is, but you don't always know the expertise of the client. You're going to know what they do, but you're not going to have the knowledge they have in order to represent it. So you're going to have to do research.
Right, you do, and so that means it's going to be important to prep your clients going forward of the time it takes, like letting them know that there's always that awkward moment in the beginning where you're trying to feel each other out and know each other, and then you have that time. There's time that has to be spent understanding their particular target, and giving that ramp up time for you to understand enough to be able to put together a great strategy. I think a lot of clients just think, well, do you know, you have to know my industry, and before you can get started. But even if you did, there's still research on their particular brand and their goals and stuff that you need to just know in the kind of clients they're bringing in, and that's all, you know, that takes time. So so it's not so simple as just hiring somebody they're supposed to boom, 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 do it for you right away. It's, you know, that's where bringing, telling the customer that, you know, this is a relationship. This is why it's so important. You can go on Upwork and you can go on Fiverr and get somebody to do it, but that person's not going to know really your company. And so it's a waste of money and time and effort than really taking the time to have a good VA that's there to know your company, understand your goals and mission, and then from there, you know, help you propel your business and your brand out there and build awareness.
Yeah. And, you know, we were talking about Facebook, but it's good to point out that all of the platforms are leading this way. So you're not just creating for Facebook, you're going to be creating for, you know, all of the platforms, because they're all leading this way. They all want to see more and more content created and original and authentic. It used to be I could do a curated content for the client and just write an intro, you know, and just say, and ask a question, you know. Always remember too, it's got to consist of, you know, the good content, but it also has to ask a good question or engage them in some way to take an action. If you don't ask them to take an action, you can't expect to get engagement. So ask them to share it, ask them for their input, ask a question, and then always, again, do the call to action regarding your client. You know, if you need help in this area, you know, please contact us. Or, you know, if you need more resources, whatever it is, whatever that client is doing, you know, always at the very bottom, maybe put that little, you know, it's not sell, sell, sell. It's still the tips and how to and being helpful, but you're still going to want to do that. And it's very interesting as we go further in our talk. It's interesting, some of the trends and things that are happening as well, and some of the ways to be seen on that. So I know you were going to tell us though too about resources. So I don't want to skip over anything here, because I want to, you know, make sure we get to all of that, because it's going to help them to be able to create content.
Oh, right, the resources. But before we do that, we should talk about like some of the changes that are happening in social media, more detail before we talk about resources. And so I know that like in Facebook, they say videos receive 6 times the engagement as non-live ones. So as much as you want to, you know, write things and post memes and stuff, and we all do that, videos is becoming big. So that's a trend that's changing this year. Messaging apps are becoming big. I know I get a lot of texts from clients, you know, but there's WhatsApp, there's all these other things, WeChat, and because customers, again, their attention span is short. So that's also an opportunity for many brands to get their messaging across and showing instant assistance to your customers. And that, you know, it's gratifying to a customer, especially who's busy and short of attention. So that's another trend that's happening in 2018. Another thing, I think, like there's also certain things like Snapchat and Instagram. They're all adding video abilities for using video, and Snapchat has now a content card, so that you can easily find companies. So they're all adding to these new ways of contacting customers, for brands, you know, businesses to contact customers. And so you want to be able to be aware of those new apps that these social media sites are doing, because that's going to change how you are going to push your content for your customers and yourself out there, because you have to move with the trends, or else you're going to be left behind. So with that said,
those are great points, because it's so true. And every platform, social media platform nowadays, has a way for your company to be seen. They really do. They've put ways to do the videos, and Facebook Live is huge, huge. I saw a comparison the other day, a chart about different platforms and, which ones are being used right now. And overwhelmingly, it used to be, and I'll just say this first, it used to be, especially as a virtual assistant helping a client, LinkedIn was a great place to be, and in the groups and all of that, and to be found. Anymore, that's kind of died off. Facebook groups are huge now, and your clients are often found in those groups. Like you were saying, Annette, go to your ideal clients group. Be in there and be helpful. Don't be salesy. Oh, I can do that. Just be helpful at first. Let them trust you first. And then, then when they're thinking about it, they'll say, oh, well, that person does that. Maybe I'll contact them. So it's just, so anyway, when I looked at this comparison, it was overwhelmingly Facebook. I mean, like up here, everything else was down here, all across. All the rest of them were even with one another, except Facebook was way above, I mean, like 80% over, what. And I didn't expect that. I knew last year I started transitioning more of my stuff to Facebook and more of my pushes to Facebook and even doing Facebook ads, things like that, because I saw that, and we've talked a lot about it in different groups and, in different things that I've read and seen. But I was surprised to see that much of a difference. I really was, because a lot of people have their favorites. Those who like to be on a lot or real quick and fast is Twitter, and Snapchat. Instagram's huge for the pictures and the video and just, scrolling through. And LinkedIn is the professional site, but more and more it's almost becoming an HR site where people can find jobs, and HR people can look for them on there. So, but I know they're trying to keep from being that as well. So, and unless you're paying the high monthly premium, you can't even do the pro account anymore, the pro finder, which was a great asset to them, I thought. But I'm not going to pay $60 a month for that to have to bid on, against other people for clients when I could spend the money in other ways. So anyway, so those are very important things that are happening, in today's social media market. So I'll let you finish.
Well, it's funny, but there's another aspect that's coming up that people need to consider. Is voice activation. Everybody's getting those little Alexa things. And, they're looking for business by saying, Alexa, find me so-and-so, So if you're not doing your SEO and rewriting your content and on your blogs and stuff, that's how people are going to find you too now. So writing content for how people speak and this AI world that's coming up, they're saying that like 72% of voice-activated speaker owners already say that these devices have become part of their daily routine. And so that means that the type of content available for discovery on these devices continues to grow. And they expect it to grow like 50% by 2020. So, you have to consider that. That's another change in the trend that's going on these days.
We must have read the same article. Really? I'm going to bring that up. That's too funny. About keywords. Yeah, I know. I saw that too. And I thought, wow, we don't, as a business, often think of that. But it's true. You have to be right on with that and be ready for how people speak. How are they speaking? Find me this, or Alexa, Google, find me that. Oh, I'm turning mine on now, right? Alexa just lit up. So anyway, but yeah.
I don't have one. I like to get one, but yeah.
I just got the Dot and it's wonderful. I love it. Yeah, it's very cool. And you can order, well, anyway, we get sidetracked, but you can even tell it to order certain things that you order all the time on Amazon and things like that. You can just say, I'm not going to say the name. Please order more, staples or, paper clips or pens or whatever it is, and they'll order it, and get it out. But anyway, it is very fascinating. It really is the way that market is taking over, and it's going to continue. It's only going to continue that way. So,
right.
Yeah. Well, tell us about some resources.
So in terms, I know. Oh yeah, the resources. So how to create good content and the resources that are there for you. Well, we touched on it, effective content is original content that is valuable, rich, and actionable. and digestible to your customers, your client base, and for yourself, because we're doing it both. We're doing it all. So ways to create good copy means prioritizing. Your first priority should be adding value to your advertising or your blogs. It should be insightful. The visuals should be well done. So how it looks matters. Make sure your content appeals to your target audience. So really, you have to really hone in to who that audience is, for your customer as well as for yourself. It should not be about you, like you said, salesy, because that's not what it's about. It's about touching on the pain points that your customer, your client, and you has, and coming up with solutions that they find valuable and that will make them want you to do it, instead of them. So you're kind of educating. Go to social media sites and groups that your clients, I mentioned that before, the groups that your clients are going to, the market, and hear what they're saying. Go to social, also for creating content, there's research, for creating content, know the personality you're talking to, the behavior, the values, and the goals. That's a lot of work, but you know what? It's so worth it. Now that I'm cold calling and going on LinkedIn, looking for clients and stuff, I'm honing my message better because now I'm hearing and seeing what people are talking about, and I'm talking to them instead of at them, which is not what you want to do. And define your objectives, what you're focusing on, like what is it you want to achieve for your client or yourself? Like, do you want to generate traffic to your site? Do you want to have big sharing on social media? Do you want to attract qualified leads? So once you define your objectives, then your creative, style will kick in, and then hone your skills by taking courses, storytelling courses, so you know how to write and you're telling a story to your customers. So for instance, I want to build case stories of past customers and how I helped them. So the storytelling is helpful in selling your services and products for your customers, as well as for yourself. So where do you find good pictures and graphics to make your point? There's so many sites out there. I sometimes use my own pics for the memes that I make because I have so many nice pictures that could of sunsets or whatever. So if I want to do a motivational meme, or if I want to do something, I may have taken a picture of a flower that I like, so I may have it on the side. So you own it, so you don't have to worry about royalty. So if you have some great pictures you could do that. But if you don't, then there are sources like there's Flickr, which is a big source for free photos. You just have to credit photographer. There's Pixabay, which I've been using a lot lately. You could download for free. They just ask for what they call coffee money. So if I find what I like about Pixabay is if I find a photographer that really hits the message I'm trying to on my blog, I'll give him $10 coffee money, because I like him and I'll follow him, and then I get emails saying he just put up something new that I could look at. So I like that. There's another one called for if you like quirky stuff, if you're into metaphors and quirky stuff. There's a place called, and I'm gonna butcher, I'm sure, Gratisography. Gratisography, Gratisog, Graphy. They have quirky, kind of dark messaging type videos, but graphics and pictures, but you may like that. And then there's Unsplash. I've heard good things about that, about beautiful graphic pics. So that's one. And Life of Pics is another one. I've heard that's good. Now, another resource, because diversity is big, everybody cares about diversity. And I can't tell you how many times I have customers who want diversity pictures, and I try to find them, and I type in business women, I get a whole bunch of business men, which drives me crazy. Or, if I say, I want multicultural, I still get, white skinned people. And I'm like, that's not multicultural. It's like, I don't know what's wrong with the algorithms, but the great places that I found diversity is iStock, but that's expensive. You can't do it by demand, but it's expensive. Dreamtime. There's a site called Nappy. I didn't name it. That's the name they gave it. That has a lot of brown skin, diverse people. And then there's another one called Blend, and they tout diversity. So that's a good one too. I found a blog site that has a list of over 376 sites that you can go to find graphics. And that blog is from this person called, he has a site called Blog Tyrant. So if you go to blogtyrant.com, it's a blog that he wrote. The name of the blog, because he does a lot of blogs and trying to find it may be hard, but it's called, I'll put it in the message there, but it's called 376 super useful royalty-free Creative Commons and public domain websites. It's a lot. But
Can I just interrupt 1 minute and just will you put all of these, or at least a few of those, in the comments for
sure.
And on our Facebook group too. But if you don't know, we have a VA to VA Facebook group. If you're not in it, please join us.
Oh,
and
right.
Pexels is another great.
There too.
Yeah. PEXELS.com. Pexels is free.
Pexels?
Yes. And
that's good.
Just as a disclaimer, please make sure you check the licensing because
thing I wanted to tell you, that site gets into that and the difference between all three. Is that good? Yeah.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but that's awesome. Yeah, that's
no, because you're right. And it did say, please never take images from Google Image, because that's not telling you.
I've heard more and more stories lately of VAs having to pay fines for their clients because they might have used a picture in a blog years ago, 10 years ago, and they had no way to know or to look up if they bought it, or they might have had one of their team members, write the blog and do the picture, and they didn't have any. So, it's wise also to make sure you document some of these too, or do an Excel sheet, or even just what I've been doing lately, honestly, is just sticking it in the folder, then copying it and renaming it my name. But then I have the original in there so I can backtrack it too. There's also a site that will do that if you sit on the picture. And I don't remember that site, but there is, if you look it up in Google, that if you sit on the picture, it'll help take you back to where it came from. Because there's a lot of people that are just making money on doing that, figuring out wherever, and then, not necessarily scamming. They could be lawyers, but they're making money on it because they know tons of people years ago never did it.
Right. Yeah, that's true. So that's something to keep in mind. And it's making me think back in the past now. And then of course there's, when you want to build graphics, there's the other sites like Canva, which is big. A lot of people are using that. Get Stencil, PicMonkey. So these are other ways of creating your own content, visual content that you can put on your blog or your customer's blog. I'm finding myself wanting to do more of it myself because then it's safer. I'm not a photographer, so I have to rely on certain, ones, but I found good ones, and I know that there's like in Pixabay, I know the photographers are offering them for free for coffee money. So I know I'm safe there. And then when it comes to video, because video is big, there's some stats just to tell you how big it is. Facebook users watch 8 billion videos per day. Snapchat users watch 10 billion videos per day. And video has the highest organic engagement of all content on Facebook at 13.9%. And video on social media is shared 1,200% times more than links and text posts combined. So that's a lot. So, using videos, but again, just like anything else, you're trying to grab your customer's attention, and against a plethora of other videos, like cat videos that I like, and dog videos, and everybody else's video. So, so you have to be engaging, but the resources there is Vimeo, Vimeo, YouTube, of course, Instagram, Facebook, because they have Facebook Live. And then if you want to create short little commercials, which I've done a couple of times, there are sites that offer actual video and and with music in the background, some of them are expensive. Like I tried promo for a while, and that's monthly. It's like almost $50. I can't afford that, but I did do it for a couple of months just to see, and I made some little short 60-second videos, and these are really professional looking, so you can pick all kinds of different types of videos that fit your message and your story, and put your logo on it, and your content in there. But those are like promo. Like I said, promo. There's one called Bidable. Bidable. That's cheap. That's not that's not as expensive as promo, and they have really nice stuff. And then there's one called Majesto. So those are three that actually it's sort of like Canva. You go on there, but you build your own little video shot. And so that's something that's a great resource to look into, to do short marketing campaigns. And you could convince it's better than like I have somebody that does professional video editing and content editing for and can do commercials, and it works for higher education as well as for TV stations. I have a method I could use for something big, but most customers, they'll be happy with Bidable and stuff like that, like a short little marketing campaign. So you want to those are some of the resources that are available. And get your content for blogging. You want to have a story. You want to have a calendar of doing that. You want to have your objectives. You want to have your script, so you know what you're saying. If you're going to do a video, say if you want to do Facebook Live, don't just get on and go, oh hi, this is me. Really have a story to tell. Really think about it. So script out, have a storyboard, have a calendar of when you're going to do things, and be really strategic of what you want to say each time. That's it.
Great points. I just want to add a couple things onto it because you just had some great points. Lumen 5, Lumen 5.com does, it has pictures and everything you can use, or you can load up your own pictures if you want, and you can put wording across them. It creates a video for you and puts music and everything behind it. It's free. They do have an upgraded version because they'll show at the very end, this was created using Lumen 5, which is only fair. Or you can upgrade, and use it without that. And it looks pretty, it looks really good actually. And then I wanted to mention too, AppSumo, AppSumo, because often I'm the shiny object. It always gets me typed. I love softwares. I love trying new technology and all of that. But AppSumo is great because a lot of times startups will introduce themselves on there, and or they'll have been running for a little while, but they're trying to up their memberships and talk about it. So AppSumo will run a special on their software for a lifetime deal most of the time. So a lot of them you could pick up for $49, $39, $89, depending, if you have a team, it might be, $79, $89. But I've picked up some of the best softwares there, using that, and it's really great. And it's a money back guarantee. So if you don't like it after, a certain amount of weeks, you can still, just tell them, I don't think I'm going to use this. So can I get my money back? So there's no, it's a win-win, and it's really great. So I highly, highly recommend that. There's a few other sites like that. Also, I know that. But anyway, so just some other things to know about that. The other thing I wanted to mention, and one of the things I didn't really realize for a while, is that the different types of licenses, the Creative Commons and the standard licensing and all that, there are, you have to be careful, even though it says commercial use, for commercial use, if you're going to use it like for branding or say on mugs or t-shirts or, something that's going to be multiplied many times over, you can't use that standard the Creative Commons, you have to get a special licensing for that because you're using it over and over. And so you have to pay, it's usually a lot higher price. But if you're doing it for a client, they have to realize that. And that if you're, creating that for them using that, it is going to be a little bit pricey, but they're going to have those as marketing and everything else. So in the end, it's marketing dollars spent. So just a word of warning for that too, because a lot of people will just take and use and everything else. But yeah, I know I went back and changed some of my blog pictures and my website pictures because when all this started happening, not a couple of years back, I was like, oh, I don't know that when I first started, you just grab, and you're like, oh, I like that one. How about this one? And you don't think about it. So it's really important though. I know we're running low on time. We might run just a few minutes over because we started later, but we want to touch on too something else important about social media. We often think of SEO and keywords only with our websites, but it's so important to do with social media too, because you can search anything on your platforms. You go into LinkedIn, you can search for different types of companies or different types of people. And if you don't have those keywords within your content and within your bios and things like that, you're going to miss opportunities that could be yours. So you want to make sure that you're using keywords in all your content. First of all, every content you do, you want to use some keywords. Twitter is big, and Instagram with hashtags. Make sure you're doing that and using the keywords with hashtags as well. And you want to make sure that also that you be sure that each channel can be a little different. You want to talk like they talk on that channel. So if they use slang, or if they're more professional, or however it is that they speak on that channel, you want to be sure to speak that way too in your keywords. So it doesn't mean that you can be across the board necessarily. So do a little research and make sure that you do that. You also use keywords and photo captions. And I hadn't really considered that. I don't often use photo captions, and but it is important because you can use them in there as well, and it'll be picked up, as well as your status updates. How about on LinkedIn when they share your status using those keywords, it's going to go out in front of a lot of people, not just in your bio. And then also in your headlines, like your blogs and articles, and even in your post headlines, make sure you're sometimes using those specific keywords that you want to pick up for. And then, also consider doing some advertising. Facebook's very reasonable. You can run ads, $5, $10. You can do A/B testing through them. You can even set it up through them as A/B testing, and you do different pictures, or you can do different content. Do one change, not everything changes. So what it is that's different that gets more traction. But it's very reasonable. So take opportunity to do that, or have your clients do this as well. That's definitely an added benefit for them. So, you just want to make sure that you're paying attention to all these even little things in your articles, in your writing, and everything else. One of the things I wanted to point out too is that Kissmetrics, WordStream, and SEMrush are good places to find keyword searches. They have keyword searches and all kinds of great resources on there that you can use even for free for most of them. So I just wanted to mention those sites so that if you wanted to figure out, well, what is my industry, keywords, what is showing up most and things like that, and you might want to take it a little different. So that's where, it really helps to be sometimes a little bit different and think out of the box, because yes, we all put VA or virtual assistant, but maybe there's another way to list that, virtual administration, or, that everybody else isn't being picked up on, but your client might, put it in for that. So just think a little bit out of the box just to see, if it makes any difference, for your clients as well. Do research for them and find out what those keywords are that they could be found for, but then think a little bit out of the box for them and help them with that. So just a couple of things to consider, when you're talking about that, because there is a lot of competition for keywords, especially on Google. And, it always helps to just think a little bit differently out of the box and how you could word it differently, but that still may be found. And again, going back to the AI that Nanette was talking about, that speech pattern and everything else, consider how your ideal client might be speaking and how they would search for you when they're speaking into a device. That's really important because, you know, they might say, find somebody who can type. You know, you don't know. I mean, they might say, you know, find somebody who can file these papers, you know, who knows? I mean, or could get me online, or can, you know, you just don't know how they're going to do it. But just do, you know, think about it, spend some time. I found it really helpful lately in developing content to actually sit and journal. And then I like to outline basically, and I'll sit and journal, like you pick a topic and then I'll just put bullet points under it, you know, and then I'll go from there. And then I might even just do, say, 8 to 10 topics. Then I'll go back and outline those. And then you have 8 to 10 weeks of content, you know, if you use it wisely. So, and for your client as well. So just some pointers there. And I know the last thing we want to talk about, and this is very important, so that's why I'm really quickly going over the keywords, is how can we use this to offer new packages to our clients? And we touched on that a little bit. But this is an important piece of that. You know, like I said, I know I'm redoing all of my packages. And unfortunately, it's going to mean it's a little pricier because it's more time involved to be able to produce the content. So, you know, and unfortunately, that's just part of doing business if they want to be actually making a difference and being able to reach their clients, you know. So, you know, I don't apologize for that or anything. It's just the way the market is right now. So we need to be sure that we're priced properly, but also reasonably. I mean, you're not going to, I think all of us in this industry don't try to take advantage of clients. We just want to be helpful to our clients. And so, but we also need to pay our teams if we have a multi-VA company, which is high priority for me. And I want to be able to cover expenses, you know, because it used to be, oh, they work from home, there's no overhead. Anymore, there's so much overhead involved because of all the softwares, all the programs, platforms, everything else that we have to be a part of. I also wanted to mention.
And the other point I think that's important for people to know, and I hate to interrupt you, but you make such a great point. But also, you know, here's the fine line. You know, is if you undercut yourself, your pricing with all the work that we've been talking about that you now have to do a good job for your customer, you're going to get a bad reputation when they're unsatisfied with the results. And so, you know, there's a balancing there. They want good results. It is an investment and it's not cheap.
And that's exactly why I had to rethink everything, because as I was seeing interaction decline and with all the changes I knew were happening, I had to think, well, I want to promote my client. I want them to be happy. I want them to be getting business. We all do. And, you know, and also I had to think about our company name. And if they weren't happy and if they left, you know, what is it going to be about and what kind of review might they do or testimony might they do, versus if we can make some changes that'll really work for them and make them happy and keep them here with us. So, but I've heard more and more with clients that they're really struggling, you know, with the content and paying and not getting any engagement and things like that. I mean, I've heard that from prospective clients, everything. And I recently I do monthly strategy sessions with my clients. And, but I mean, we talk in between two usually, but I do purposely have a monthly strategy session. And I developed a new way for my clients to develop content very quickly and easily to try and help them if they wanted to produce. Because right now, the ones I have, you know, we're not doing content. So if they don't want to switch to the new package, you know, I still need to help them figure out how to do the content. So I developed a way for them to do it quickly and easily, hopefully not taking a lot of time. It's just now, are they going to do it? So, you know, but anyway, I just think those are the things we need to consider and think about. And we need to price ourselves right, not too high, not too low, which is always tricky. But if you look at the market and do some research, even the bigger agencies, you know, they charge so much. They just charge so much for so little sometimes. I mean, you know, they might produce a newsletter, take some things out of the newsletter and throw it up once a week for you and charge a tremendous amount. I started helping somebody with SEO recently, and, you know, and more. We're doing social media and blogging and everything. And I couldn't believe a large company was charging her a tremendous amount just for putting up one post a week. And they're doing some Google ads, but I can't imagine that they're spending a lot on that compared to what she's being charged. And it just made me mad because I thought it doesn't have to be that way, we can still make a little money and help our clients. So, and I want you to be able to tell us some more about packages and what you're doing, Nanette. Sorry.
Oh, well, it's hard to.
I promise.
It's hard, because of everything you just said, and doing it. But you also, I've been doing some research on what bigger agencies are doing and found some good information that's helping me to define what I have done already and what I should be pricing. So, you'll often see packages from agencies and levels that include, an increasing price includes something like content only, posted a certain amount of time, a certain amount of months, weeks, or days, direct interaction with your followers, which is another piece. So if you're answering blogs or emails, from clients who have prospects who have questions, so direct interaction could be another part of your package that's a price too for it. Outreach to attract new followers, media attention, potential partners, how many times a week, day, month that you do that, that's a pricing structure. And then strategy, just the overall marketing strategy, which I think is the most expensive to offer somebody because that takes time. That's being thoughtful, that's doing research, that's looking at competition, and that's talking to the customer. And that takes time to really know it well. It's not something that happens overnight. And then setting the expectations to that customer of the time frame they can expect to see things. Because I think everybody wants, just like they want instant gratification when they're on their smartphone or TV or whatever, they have to understand you're growing a business, and it takes time to get people interested to stay with you and stay engaged with you. And that's a buildup of time. It's the same thing as when you're in sales and you're doing cold calling and you're calling someone up. There's a ramp up time when you join a company as a salesperson, to know the company, to understand their goals and mission, to be able to speak in the language of the customer, the company you work for, to sell to a prospect. And that's typically about a 3 to 6 month ramp up time, depending on how detailed, how complex that company, what they sell, whether it's services or products. It takes time. And so that's setting that expectation to your company, to your client, is really important as you talk about all these different package deals. So you could have something light, a setup, maybe it's just setting up a certain amount of social media sites that they want to, that fits that customer and where their audience is. So it could be a setup package that you provide. Then there could be a support package where you are maintaining and building, and that could be in different levels depending on, again, are you just posting content that they're providing, or are you interacting with their client, their audience? Are you strategizing? Which means research, analytics, tweaking and adjusting, and constantly improving your results. That's a lot of work, and that should be, priced accordingly. So when you're,
excuse me, it's really funny, yeah. But I find that a lot of clients just assume. Mm-hmm. I feel like we consult so much and give so much away as virtual assistants. I don't even. I like virtual professional anyway versus that, or that we're digital marketers, but because we do so much marketing for them and we do so much work, we're consultants, we're strategists and everything else, and they're paying a very low fee for that, to be honest. And so you need to be aware of what would it cost if they went to a marketing company and had strategy done for them? What would it cost if they went out to a marketing company and had what you're doing, done for them? So not saying you have to be up there too, but I'm just saying be reasonable, but also, I love that you said set the expectation also, because that's so important. And I do that all the time, even though some clients may not understand that. Most usually do. And honestly, those are the clients you want. And it's okay if others, leave or don't want to do it because it's certain price or certain things. And make sure you list every piece of what you're going to do, every piece of that package on your site. Tell them this is what you get, this is what you're going to get every month. Just tell them this is how it works, and then make sure in the contract, and I even put in my contract about social media is not an exact science, and it takes time that the client understands this. You know what I mean? I have a whole section on that.
Put the ramp up time that it's going to take to start seeing any kind of results. Put that in the contract, so they can't be complaining to you,
it doesn't change it, but yes, sometimes, because some clients just come on thinking, oh, they're going to give you, you're going to give them a boost and then they're going to hop off, but that's not the way it works. And they're going to be highly disappointed, So the expectation is really a big part of what we do when we set up any new client, whatever it is, whatever, we're going to do. A funny thing, I got a new client this week, and in doing everything, she was just so excited. She's a nonprofit, and she was just so excited to get started. And I'm telling you, I sent her the contract. She got it right back. I sent her the first invoice, she paid it. I sent her the welcome package. She filled it out and back. And I'm like, can I hire you to do all my onboarding for new clients?
That's great.
I know, isn't that wonderful? But, most of the time it takes... It's a process, and it doesn't mean you're starting tomorrow, which clients don't realize either. And a lot of times what they don't realize too is when they're signing on with you, you're already doing the work. You're already researching, you're already developing things, you're already strategizing, so, they don't even realize they want to start next week, but you've already been doing all this work for them. So keep all those things in mind. It's time, time that you could be spending on other clients making money as well.
That's right. And so make sure that's factored in, because really, time is money for all of us. And so when you're pricing, you should have several factors. Your pricing has to do with several factors. So how much work is the client asking you to do for them? Can any of the work be automated? For instance, Buffer, Hootsuite, that determines how much time is going to take, versus needing a human to do something. How much of the work requires real-time activity versus pre-scheduling the work for the week or the month? Is the customer happy with general posts before we're writing in their voice and spending that time doing that? How much strategy and research is involved on a monthly basis, and how much are strategic adjustments made? How often are strategic adjustments made on their campaign? Because that's also work. Like you have to learn how to pivot. Something's not working, and you have to be able to move to something else. That's all work. So,
and that's a huge
those are some things to think about.
That's a huge part of the marketing aspects when you're doing ads. I can't tell you, they don't realize how much time it takes to go in and do analysis and figure out, well, what's not working? What could I change to make this get more reach? A perfect example is before the Facebook change, I ran an ad for a client, was getting over 2,000 reach. because it's a local client, but getting like 35 clicks on the sign up and this and that, right? So that's pretty good for what they were, trying to establish. The same ad after the change, same exact ad, same target audience, everything the same, got 200 reach in like 2 or 3 clicks. So yeah, you have to get in there and see, well, how can I make this different? How can I change it to make this work now? So that's a huge part of it. It is. And often we don't factor in that time. I know I often don't. I consider it part of my time as the project manager a lot with my team, but I'm not getting near enough for that. So it's a good point. It is. It's a very good point. We need to consider.
It is a good point. Yeah, because I think we're all so easy to leave. We want to give so much to our customers. We're doing all this work, and you're leaving it on the table. So that's something to consider. But anyway, so what I would do is like break down, because I remember taking a course about recently about packages, and it opened my eyes that I need to redo it because I noticed that there's a setup fee and a maintenance fee that's different, and I wasn't doing that, and I really need to do that because they're two separate things. It's very labor intensive in the beginning when someone doesn't have anything and you're trying to help them and decide what's right for them. So you have to price that accordingly. And then support's usually not as expensive because it's all in place already, and all you're really doing is managing it. And again, it may raise in price based on the analytics and the research and the pivoting that you have to do, the changes you have to do when something isn't working. So that could be a scale, different packages too, because sometimes people just want you to do it. They don't care what the outcome is, which is unfortunate. But then that's when the consulting comes in, and there's consulting costs. So
absolutely, yeah. And I love that you also talk about the engagement, because that is huge. Clients I often say, well, what is it that you need? And you have to educate them, again, on the curated, created, engagement, strategy, everything. And they often say, I just know I need it now, but I don't know what to do with it, and I just want you to do it all. I just want you to do it all. Honestly, I have that. And I'm like, well, do you realize, once you start talking dollars and how much a do it all is going to be, it's a little different. And also you have to be careful. Like some of my engagement packages, I will not include comments because I feel like the client should answer that, especially if they're, unless it's, just like nice article or whatever, or just related. But if it's a direct comment about services or other things, or even the industry, that's something the client sometimes needs to take. And so, I think there are so many ways you could be very creative in packaging, doing your packages. You very much could. I mean, you could just even have a few packages. And I will say that most of the time it's good to have 3 options in any packages that you do. Most of the time clients go for the middle one. It's just human nature, but it's always good to have the other 2, because there's going to be that client who may need the bigger one, or the client who may need the smaller one. But that engagement piece can take a lot of time too, and I know I guess I'm trying to do a little plug, but I have an ebook coming out soon that is actually going to be able to be used with teams. I'm so excited about it, and doing engagement and everything with clients. So I'm real excited about that. But anyway, that's a side point. But it is so, it's just so, you can't use the same thing for every client. You know what I mean? It has to be individualized and personalized, with them and going over things. And clients don't realize it takes, more time of them in the beginning as well, as we get to learn their voice and learn what they do. So it's just a lot of changes. We're already almost 15 minutes over. I just wanted to see, was there any other comments that you had, Nanette?
No, actually, that's pretty much what I wanted to cover myself. As I'm going through this process and have become clear on what I need to do. So
I think the longer we're in it too, the more clear we get on that. There may be some of you that are newer and newly trying to establish teams and everything, and it's a little muddy in the beginning. Even just as a new VA, it can be a little muddy, or any new business in the beginning. But then as you add in team members and other things and other aspects of the business, I think it starts to actually clear out a little bit and get much clearer. I know for me, just even in the last few years, my message, my branding, my, all of my packages and stuff have become much clearer, for businesses to be able to find me and to be able to understand what I'm offering them. So,
if you're new but even if you're building a team, go out there and ask the potential customer. That's the best way to understand how you need to put your packages together. Ask them what's their needs. What do they find frustrating that they're not doing? That's all informational. They tell you when you're looking for a job to do informational interviews. Well, it's the same thing with business.
Absolutely. And poll, if you have clients already, poll them, find out what was it that brought you to me? What was it that you liked about us, and what's keeping, are there some, I always like to know too, are there things that we can improve? What can we do to make it better? Because we need to be able to hear that as well so that we can make it better if there's any struggles. My clients are we're pretty fluid as far as talking and whatever they need, so they're pretty open about what their struggles are, and if there's things that they need help with, or that if there was a mistake or something. I mean, that doesn't happen often, but once in a while. I remember doing social media, and I was trying to share something for myself, and it came up. It didn't show whose account it was, and it posted to my client's account. And so she's just, threw me an email real quick and said, this was on my account, and it was about VAs. Right. And so I was like, I'm so sorry. So, quickly went in, but you have those things happen, especially when you're managing a lot of accounts. I'm using Social Pilot now as a platform to manage the accounts. And it's really been helpful. It had a lot of bugs in the beginning, but it's really started to even out and get much more useful.
That's good.
So, yeah, and it's a very reasonable price, which is what I also love, because most of those are well over 100 a month at least, and they're not at all, even with the team and with multiple clients. So it's a good one to look at, especially as you're adding clients to social media and things, and you can get. It has a content calendar, so as you put in their content, they can look at it and approve it. It has some analytics. It needs to improve a little bit on that, but it does have some analytics and everything. So it's really great, and you can add content right in it or create content within it. So it's a great little, a place to be able to manage clients. Excuse me. So we're 17 over. I know we started late, but in the end, I hope you learned something today from VA to VA Mastermind Live. And we're looking forward to seeing you again next month. We do this monthly, usually on the first full week of the month, on the first Friday of every month. But just keep an eye out. We will send out posts and let you know on social media that we're going to be on again. And share with others too, please. We'd love for you to share with others if you enjoyed it today. And leave us some comments or any other topics you'd like to hear about. We'd love to be able to do that for you. So thanks for watching today. Bye, everyone.